Ciao ragazzi, my name is Anthony. Welcome back to Inter Worldwide. Thank you to the 14 people that have clicked the link already. Welcome, and make sure, as usual, you let me know if you are new and if my audio and my video is all well and good. We'd like to nip that in the bud straight away. I'm very excited and privileged to be joined by, a colleague, so to speak, in the English-speaking cultural content creator world. I'm a big fan of not only himself, but his whole channel. And as you guys know, I always love to speak to the rival fans, especially those who are putting out content and take time out of their day to put out content. So welcome from the Bianconeri zone, Aleandro. It's absolutely a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited. Actually, I was trying to reach out, or I planned to reach out to you, but I never got to it. So it's good that you did it first. So here we are.
Time
Excited.
zones,
Excited
time
to.
zones make it a little tricky, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the biggest issue.
It is, man. It is. Well, we'll have some people coming through the comments pretty soon. Mattia, one of our channel members, is already here. Thanks for coming through. And as usual, guys, whenever we are having these debates or these conversations with people from enemy trenches, always keep it nice and respectful with a side note of banter on the side. I've got a lot to get through, and I want to get through it as most as possible in the short time that we have, Ale. And the reason I've gotten you on this channel today is because, as I said off camera, I sort of see a lot of myself in you when speaking about our own clubs. You like to dive a little bit deeper in the overall issues, and you're not so quick to jump the gun on any headlines or any positivity until it sort of comes to fruition. I'm really interested in your overall thoughts for the channel. I mean, I've seen your content a lot. It's a huge transitional phase for your club. Some might even call it the largest transition in terms of shifting or in terms of maintaining identity from one team of leaders to another. What's your overall gauge on the transitional period from the Agnelli ownership and this managing and directing team that you see up on the board now versus to how you're going into 23-24? What are the big changes, man, and how are you feeling?
Uh, I'm feeling confused. Not really optimistic because it's very. It feels like everything is being done, on the fly. Like it doesn't feel structured. We have a president and a vice president. Nobody, they don't speak ever. Nobody knows them. They never, before now, they never they never had any experience in the world of football. They're just lawyers, bankers, like close friends to the owner. That's Alkan. So they're there. They're in place to kind of balance the ship. But it's tough when you are, like you said, in the most difficult moment in I don't know how many years. Like it's tough, and you have people with no experience trying to build something. It's really tough. And then even the Juntoli thing, coming in extremely late, like actually on the deadline of you need of possible signing from Napoli. It doesn't feel like you cannot be optimistic about it because it's very unclear. Everybody in the boardroom got replaced by, and if like, I don't know the people, but they all had descriptions. If you look them up, and they're all lawyers, all of them. That makes you think this is just balancing the ship, and this is not really about winning immediately. And I think that's very clear with everything that's not happening in the last month and a half now, and probably will not happen until September. So strange, very strange situation because we come from absolute heights, and the drop off is unbelievable. Like from winning 9 in a row to this really quickly, it's like nobody could have imagined that. Like I get having a little setback, but this is extreme, like really extreme, and it's all by our own doing. Like we cannot blame anyone for this. It's just because when I say we, it's Agnelli was a bit too greedy too soon, in my opinion, because he was at the top and he wanted to go to the absolute top, which I thought was possible, but he wanted to do it too quickly, and it backfired big time, big time.
Do you think Agnelli was sort of a product of his own greed in a sense that he was more than okay to be the head honcho in Italy, even if it meant Italy suffering as a whole, as long as he was dining at the table with the big heads? But then he quickly saw post-COVID when, capital and revenue were the be all and end all of sustainability and survival, that he looked over his shoulder and went, shit, I might be the biggest in a small bowl here in Italy, but when it comes to the Premier League giants and a couple of other clubs, I'm sort of still a small fish in a big pond. And he was just sort of playing catch up to try and stay at the top there in a situation and a scenario where his books and his the bag that he could dip into, it just didn't resemble what his vision was.
No, I agree. It went really quickly in a completely different direction. Like nobody saw anything coming. Like the Cristiano Ronaldo signing was very random, like out of nowhere. And I think that's where Marotta was like, I'm kind of done with this now, because this was not the plan. It's difficult to say no if you have the opportunity to get Ronaldo, because it will boost everything, and he did well for us. But that's kind of our story. Up from that point, everything, there was no plan. Up from that point, it was done. Everything was done from year to year. There was no plan, nothing. And you can see that with so many players we struggle to sell because they flopped and all those things. And the Super League thing kind of was too much. It was too much. Like he went completely in for it, and it flopped. Like it completely failed, and you cannot recover from that. Absolutely. Like that's, I think at that point I was like, you probably should leave now. He stayed on, because he kind of owns the club a little bit as well. So it's tough, to get sacked up to, a couple of months ago. But he made he did so many good things for the club, because in 2011 we had no stadium, we had nothing. Like we came from consecutive 7th place finishes, and in 9 years time we have probably the best structure in Italy, like stadium, like everything, training ground setup, it's unbelievable. And we went to the absolute top, revenue, everything skyrocketed. But maybe it went too soon, and like you said, he became too greedy. He wanted too much too quickly, and now he's done. Like he's done. So, and we are kind of done as of at this moment in time. It's tough, man. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, and shout out to our friend of the channel, Ian Kerr, and shout out to your daughter as well, man. Sending her the best wishes as well. I think what I've tried to say to a few people, Ale, is that the reflection of your club's health is usually dictated in its behavior off the pitch in the transfer market and on the pitch in terms of mentality and how the players project themselves, not only over little blocks of time, but over 94 minutes, 95 minutes over the course of duration of tournaments. And I think the biggest reflection of your struggle at the moment comes in the Mercato, in a sense that for as long as I've known, being an Inter fan since I was 5, I've got severe PTSD from losing to you guys on the pitch, watching you guys succeed, watching you guys take our transfer targets. It's not normal for me to wake up and see they've lost Parisi to Fiorentina for 11 million. They have never been so far away from Milinkovic-Savic as they were in this market, but they're still running with the media and running with the headline that they are going to sign him. I said it 2 years ago when you didn't sign him for, I think it was the rumored something like 65, 70. Lotti was rumored to, he was like, look, I'll do 70. I want 110. I want 115. I'll do 70. Juve were never going to come for 70 just after COVID. And I thought, that's it. You got to wash your hands off this now. And you've had to wash your hands of it in an almost embarrassing way this time around. And don't worry, I'm here to cop the next bit of the flack right around the corner for this brother right here. But we are now living in a time where I like to say, apart from the last 3 years, it's no longer an inter-isolated issue. Milan have struggled immensely. Napoli are going to start struggling, even though they are financially the best of the big bunch. And here are Juve losing Parisi for 11 million to Fiorentina and not even coming close to getting their SMS signature. Now, officially, this ship surely has sailed, Ale.
Yeah, like the Parisi one, it's not 100% done, but that one hurt. Like that one hurts because, like the Savic one, it doesn't really hurt because we don't need Savic. It might sound ridiculous, but we have completely, like we have no left back, no right backs. We have no backup center backs. We have no right wingers. Those are the real issues at the club. So I don't have an issue with losing out on Milinkovic-Savic because on my channel I said I don't get it. I struggle to believe we are actually in for Savic. So I'm okay with it. I'm absolutely fine with not getting Savic. The Parisi one, it hurts because I don't think Parisi is world class. I don't think he will ever be world class, but I
Yep.
think he can be a player like Lichtsteiner was for
Yep.
us. Solid. Every week I knew what I was getting from Lichtsteiner. 7 out of 10. No matter what, he will leave it all on the pitch. And for the first 4 years, it was pure quality. Even 5 years, it was just quality, and I love that. That's why I think Parisi is. And I was like, 11 million euros. Excuse me. That's like, if we don't have 11 million euros, then the situation is, I don't know what's another word than critical, because it's worse than critical. 11 million euros. That's a bargain. Like, that's for free in this market, in this
Yeah.
agent. Like, 11, you don't get players for 11 million. We signed way out for 11 million euros, but like, those are kind of free transfers. 11, that's nothing.
Mm.
Losing out on him to Fiorentina is sad, because I have people telling me, "Oh, maybe we have different targets." I'm like, no, man. Like, if if we are in this situation, the club is not gonna miss out on 11 million euros and pay 25 for a different target,
Yeah.
because that makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. At this moment in time, we have nothing to spend, like absolutely nothing. And it, like you said, like a few years back, we had money enough. Like, we had money to buy Higuain from Napoli. Why not?
Yeah.
Because Napoli was kind of causing a little bit of a trouble, and we were like, okay, let's take Higuain, and you're done. You're finished for a couple of years, and we go on. Pjanic from Roma, we took their best player, because why not? And everybody
Yeah.
wanted to join us because, well, we were dominating. Now it's tough. Like, again, 11 million euros for Parisi is nothing, and that one stings me, because we have no left back at the club, and I'm so confused as of why we didn't get that deal done. 11 million euros. We're selling Ranocchia to Empoli. Like, it makes no sense. Like, how is that possible that you cannot get that deal done?
What
I don't
about
get it.
Cambiasso? Does he play as left back, or is he going to loan still again this season? Going on another
So the
loan?
rumors are that Bologna want to keep him on loan. That's
Mm,
not an option the club want to do, a loan deal. But the weirdest rumor is that he's coming back in training camp, and he will be used as a right back in preseason, which
right.
pisses me off, because that's what we do. We turn players. We are turning Sule in a mezzala, Iling Junior in a left back. Like, that's what we do. Like, that's what we do when we play you guys. And Brozovic is on that pitch. We play Kulusevski to man mark Brozovic, or Bernadeschi, or Sule to man mark Zielinski. That's what we do. That's what Allegri does. And I'm like, if you're gonna test, like, Cambiasso is a good. He's an okay left back. I'm not too high on him, but play him as left. You need a left back. Play him as a left back. You can shift him to right back. You still need a left back. Like, you're not solving any issues here. So that's a rumor, and who knows? But Bologna want to keep him, but we are just not open to do a loan deal again. I think if he's not going to stay, we will sell him.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you very much, Rosemary, for the donation and for your constant support of the channel. I really appreciate it. I wanted to throw over to my guest to ask me a question about this particular transfer right here. And it's a bizarre one, man, because, and just for the record, I haven't actually opened the article. I woke up this morning about an hour ago, and I usually just scroll through major headlines. I don't know what's going on. Someone in the chat can help me. What's this I hear about Al Nassr not being able to register players already for the start of next season? I mean, we all know there's a whole bunch of shady shit going on in the Saudi league, but that just reeks of BS already. But either or, the money's been deposited. So Marcelo Brozovic, I don't think he's going to lose too much sleep over when he can play his first game for this club. But anyway, Ale, did you have a question for me regarding Brozovic or any of our sales transfers in general?
Yeah, that was a weird sale, because it felt like he was taking some digs, towards the club, because it feels like the club was like, we got an offer, you're gone. Just a bit like the Tonali one, like, we got an offer, take it, we need it. But I think Brozovic was a very important player for you guys. No, I know you got who's that guy
Hakan
from
to
Empoli?
deploy in that. We've got Aslani.
Aslani, but he didn't really feature, that much. Or like, not enough, because I thought he was good at Empoli, but I think you're gonna miss Brozovic like quite
Definitely.
a lot. So I find it strange that Inter were like, yeah, just leave, please leave, or that
Mm,
came across like that, and I don't get it. Like, did something happen which I don't know about behind the scenes,
definitely.
contract talks, or
There was definitely
because
something behind the scenes, man. Definitely.
it makes no
Definitely.
sense in my opinion.
Yeah. So when Ivan Perisic didn't renew his contract at the end of last season, I knew something was up with the sort of, the Eastern European clique in our dressing room, because for a long time we've had, a lot of bodies in there that
Yeah,
represent that faction of the world. And Brozovic has always been a type of player to look out for him first and look out for Inter second, even if he has been, our borderline best player for the last few years. He really was the engine that kept ticking. But attitude wise, he started off last season very poor, and he's not isolated in that sense. There were many of our players that started off last season very poorly. And then he turned up to the World Cup for Croatia, had no problem playing 120 minutes back to back, as he usually does, breaks his own kilometer world record from the previous World Cup, as he does, and then turns back up to training and says he's got a calf injury. And then all of a sudden, we can't get him back into form or get him back on the pitch properly until mid-January or February, where we're dropping points as well. And this is right about the time Milan Skriniar decides to not to renew his contract and go to Paris. And, I would say I'm a pessimist to a degree, but when I smell bullshit in my club, I run with it to the heavens and back. There's videos of me in November saying Brozovic is done. He has checked out. He will be sold. The guy knows for a fact he's not going to be here next season. Skriniar will be next. And this has just been sort of like a downward trajectory for a lot of our clubs that won the Scudetto under Antonio Conte. There was a huge problem in the first few months of Inzaghi's reign, where I know for a fact Bastoni was one of the key players in the dressing room saying, what are we doing? We're not going to play well under this manager. There were so many of our players that needed a kick up their ass after Papa Conte left, because psychologically, a lot of these players didn't recover straight away, Aleandro. You had all these players that have worked hard throughout their career with nothing to show for it. That Scudetto was the first piece of serious silverware in the closet for Brozovic, for Skriniar, for Barella, for Toro, for Bastoni, for every single person on that pitch, for Lukaku, everyone that won that Scudetto under Conte. That was borderline their first important accolade. They almost felt hard done by when it was yanked from beneath them, when all the financial stuff started with Schunning and our ownership. And this is still the domino effect of that. I know that was 2.5 years ago, but this is still a symptom, a late onset symptom of the virus that has been our economic state since COVID took over. And it probably isn't over yet, Aleandro. It probably isn't over yet, because in a few days' time, we're probably going to sell a top 3 goalkeeper in the world. We're probably going to sell Onana. And it's bad. It's bad because we don't want to sell him. We know what he can do for us. We know what he means to our tactical setup. But I don't think any club at the world is going to blink 2 eyelids at 55 million green money plus Valenza money for a goalkeeper. Not in 2023. It doesn't happen. So we're going to have to make our bet and accept the fact that he's next out the door. So to answer your question in a long story short, Marcelo Brozovic is just the latest domino to fall in a club that is also going season by season, just like Juventus is at the moment. And I've said this as well, we're sort of in season 3 of damage control, which is why we look like we're handling it a little bit more calmer than the other clubs. Brozovic for 18 million, he doesn't want to be here. He's got to go. It's all about damage control from here. Marotta knows exactly the bag that he's working with, and I think as long as he gets his replacements in, it's the best that we can hope for, man. But in terms of building something sustainable, I'm like you. I don't see it just yet. I don't see it. Not for us.
Like again, I think it's going to be a big miss. I do believe, especially at the beginning, you got Fratesi in.
Yeah.
But like I think he's a good player for Fratesi, but he's not at the level of Brozovic at this moment in time. He's not there. It will be a big miss. But you're right. It's kind of similar to our situation. Only you have some money to spend. We have nothing to spend at this moment in time. Like you said, you're in year 3 basically. We're in year 1, and it's weird because we need to sell players because we need the money, and we are probably going to sell players that we cannot miss out. Like we cannot miss him in the current team we have. Like we cannot miss certain players, and it's tough. Actually, I'm waiting for like my channel. Every single video I make, I end with hopefully, and I say hopefully with actually pain. Hopefully, we have some news tomorrow about a player leaving, because if a player is not leaving, nothing is going to happen, and things need to happen. You know,
Yeah.
like those are the names. Like Pogba, I don't really care. You know, he didn't play last season, and we did what we had to do. We made top four on the field, basically, the bare minimum. So I don't like. Yeah, if he stays, but I know he's not going to stay fit. So I don't. If he leaves, I'm fine with it. You know, I don't. I like Pogba, but it is what it is. The other threes, the other three are an issue. You know, they are a bit. If Bremer leaves, we have nothing at the back, because the club told Bonucci today basically to leave. You know,
Oh, did they?
They told him he's not going to be a starter, and he wants to play.
Wants to play
get
the
into
Euro
the
one more time, doesn't he?
But then again, it's Mancini. Like he will call him up even if he sits on the bench for us entire season. You know, so I'm not sure if he's going to leave Bonucci, because there are good rumors that after the Euros he's done, he will retire. So I'm not really sure if he's going to leave. But if you lose Bremer, we have nothing at the back. We play a back three most of the time. That's, you know, Bremer. And that's an issue because you have absolutely nobody. If Vlahovic leaves, and he had a down year, but all of our attackers had a terrible year, you know, absolutely terrible. So I don't think it's all on him, because at Fiorentina, even when he joined us, everybody saw what he can do, and you don't lose that in a couple of months' times. Like there are obvious glaring issues with our tactical setup. The Chiesa one, if you lose Chiesa, and like we already struggle to sell out a stadium because of the current situation. If you lose Chiesa, nobody's going to come to the stadium.
Yeah, there's levels to sell it. There's levels to selling Chiesa, isn't there?
He is the bright spark. Like if he's on the pitch, no matter how depressed I am watching, I will sit up straight and I'm like, okay, something is gonna happen, you know, because he's that type of player. If Chiesa is not there, I have no idea what I'm gonna watch. I'm probably gonna watch the worst 3-5-2 in modern day history. Like it's gonna look, even with Chiesa in a 3-5-2, it's not good because he cannot play in that system.
Yep.
But when he's out there, you can feel, okay, just give him the ball. Like he will make it work. And so many times he did, you know. He changes games for us. We don't have, if you lose Chiesa, we have nothing in that team. If Pogba's not fit, there's absolutely no spark in that team. Nothing whatsoever. You have Kostic crossing the ball every single minute, basically. Every time he receives the ball on the touchline, he's crossing that damn ball. And that's what we're going to do. So that's the tough one. Like Chiesa, you cannot lose. No, like I don't care if they offer 70 million. You cannot lose Chiesa. You just can't, because I've seen the names we're trying to change that tactical setup and get Zaniolo and get Berardi. And when I hear those things, I just want to cry, because that's the saddest bit of news a Juve fan will ever see. Lose Chiesa, but you get Zaniolo or Berardi. Like it will not get worse than that. So that's, if I need to choose one, and I think Vlahovic is the one that will leave. It's like I don't want to lose Vlahovic. I don't want to lose Vlahovic. But we can still win things with not having a 20-goal striker, because we've done that under Antonio Conte. We've done it under Allegri, basically. Like spread the goals. So you can do that without a top striker. But I don't think you can do that without a number one center back and a very good player, a player that will put fear in opponents, where you're like, okay, if he's on the ball, it's all eyes on him, basically. We don't have that. And that's big for an Allegri team, because it's all predicated in, if we are in a very tough situation, get that ball to Chiesa or whoever, or Di Maria, which didn't really work out, and, you know, let them cook and they will kind of resolve the game. And many times they did. So you cannot lose Chiesa whatsoever. So I believe it's going to be Vlahovic. because the teams in need for a striker are more than the teams in need of a player type Chiesa. Even Aston Villa, Newcastle, those teams are in for Chiesa. That's kind the only rumor. So I still believe Chiesa is going to stay. I think it's
Yeah.
Vlahovic who's going to leave in the next coming couple of days.
And what happens when Vlahovic leaves? Does that money get reinvested in a makeshift front option? I know you've re-signed Milik for, I think it was was it 7.5 altogether from Marseille? I know they didn't budge on price. 7.5.
Yeah, they first said we don't want to pay the 7.5 agreement, so go back to Marseille, and then 2 weeks later they paid the money. So that was wasting time for nothing.
Without Vlahovic, you'd have Moise Kean and Milik and Chiesa as a roaming flank forward. That's it. So you'd have to reinvest some of the Vlahovic money into some sort of an attacker. But I imagine it would be a makeshift bootleg option. There's no way that you guys would splash the majority of the cash, which would be pretty. Don't get me wrong. If a Premier League side is going to take Dusan from you, they're going to have to come out with a 70 mil bag minimum. That should be an opening bid.
Yeah. There were rumors about the strongest name link, and like even Di Marzio, he's speaking now, and he mentioned that we will be in for Lukaku, but that guy will probably
he's staying here, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's staying. Well, he will never like that's the worst combination ever. Like that's never gonna work for so many different reasons. So that's crap. That's bullshit. But the name that actually the strongest is Scamacca. And that will always stay there because apparently West Ham are willing to lower that price big time. Also because they want Zakaria. A lot of people are high on Scamacca. Me, not so much personally. I've not ever really seen anything special in him. But we need to invest it, obviously. The big worry is, or like the big confusion is nobody knows how we're going to set up next season. So it's very difficult, I think, even for journalists to say they want maybe a right winger or an out and out striker, because nobody knows. Like Allegri changed from it. Like he changed ever since he joined the lineup every single game. Coppa Italia, Champions League, he never had the same lineup in 2 years' time. That's crazy. So we don't know how he's going to play. So I cannot say we need an out and out striker because I don't know how we're going to play. I don't know. And that's a worrying part to me as well.
I don't mean to focus on too many negatives, but in terms of the midfield as well, you got to sort out some of the dead weight and the dead wood that just don't, like, let's be honest with ourselves, they're just not up to scratch. They're not up to the Juve standard that you expect them to be week in, week out. Are these two guys destined for the Premier League? Are they destined to leave? That is Dennis Zakaria and Weston McKennie. Also, while we're here, we might as well touch on Artur Melo.
Apparently Zakaria is close to West Ham, although the rumors are not suggesting it's close, but he's kind of destined to join the Premier League. McKennie, I have no idea. I don't know who wants to take him on, because he's a very bad footballer. Like he has no technical ability whatsoever. Like I can actually not believe he's playing.
I was so sorry to interrupt, but why do you think he was signed? Because even when he was signed and I saw him meeting Chiellini, I thought to myself, is this more of a PR stunt sort of signing?
I know what he's good at. Like his runs in the box, and like he's dangerous when he gets into the box. But when that's not, and when you have better players in the squad, and when Pirlo came in, the team was what it was. But the moment you ask him to do more in possession, you think, if you watch him, you're like, how did you reach this level? Because it's really poor. Like the level is kind of embarrassing at times, and the higher the magnitude of the game went on, like you play bigger teams, it looked worse and worse and worse. So I don't get it. I have no idea where he's going to end up. I have no idea who's going to pay us the 22 million. But he's probably out because he's just not good enough. Same for Arthur.
Yep.
I don't even know where to start. Like we actually need to pray that a Saudi team comes in for him, because we cannot sell him. We can. because the loss we will take is too big for us. So we need to loan him out again, and hopefully to a Premier League team who will take on his ridiculous wage. Um, but there are no offers for him. That's like his agent is speaking every day, saying he's not going to stay. Allegri doesn't really want him. We want him back to the Premier League, but there are no offers. You know, he didn't play last season because of an injury, so I don't even know how you're going to sell him.
Yeah, fair. We'll answer a couple of questions from the people in the chat, and then I'll give you the floor for a little bit, and then we'll talk expectations to finish off. Your thoughts on Allegri? Is he definitely staying for the duration of the season? Is he pretty much the only one left there with a footballing brain? I know you said at the start of the video that the identity of the backroom staff and management is just compiled of a bunch of, lawyers and men in suits now. They're not necessarily men who made their bread in the footballing world. Do you think Allegri is sort of playing semi-director in the background until Giuntoli has arrived? Like, you give me your opinion, man, on the whole situation with Allegri.
Yeah, he was definitely calling the shots because the rumors were from good sources that he was not happy that Giuntoli was coming in. He wanted Manna, who is in charge now, or like is in position from the under 23s, basically, to come in because that's somebody you can control, but not Giuntoli. So I'm happy that happened. For the first time, I screamed for it. He's still Italian. I screamed for somebody outside of the club, completely new view on things, and that's what we did for the first time ever. So I will say that's job well done, because Allegri's not in control now. He is in control, Giuntoli. Kind of difficult because he only came in a week ago. I don't think the impact will be that big this season, and I don't blame him for that. But Allegri's not in control anymore. He was in control because the Aleandro situation is embarrassing, and that was the biggest disgrace probably in the last 10 years at the club, because he got told to not play him anymore because the renewal will kick in, and we are stuck with him. He played him, renewal kicked him, he benched him. And that's where Calvo, who was kind of the caretaker, director, whatever, went into him, and Allegri went into Calvo post Udinese, and I was like, it's done. Like, they don't like each other, and they still don't like each other. And the club made it very clear by statement saying the football needs to be better. This needs to be better. They're sticking with him because we cannot sack him. We cannot pay 30 and off plus million and hire a new coach, or it needs to be Pirlo type of coach who's earning nothing, peanuts. So that's the situation. He's here because of money, not because he deserves the job, because the last 2 years are terrible. There's no improvement. We went backwards. I'm not going to use the excuse from the points deduction because it was bad before that. But the question was, will he be in charge the full season? I don't think so. I think if it goes south, they will pull the trigger this time. Also, because the follow-up question was, is it official that we are out of Europe? It's not official. It will probably happen. And the club is banking their hopes in making top four because we need that money. And I think if it's not good enough, they will pull the trigger because we cannot miss out on another 80 million euros next season.
Yeah, fair enough. Before I give you the floor to ask me any questions, I'm going to ask you, what are your expectations for next season? Ale, is it just make the top four and continue on? Or do you think that without Europe, you can sort of dial back the years a little bit and gun-ho for the Scudetto?
No, there's no chance for us. Like, absolutely no chance. Like, the team will be worse than compared to last season, and we were miles off. I don't think Napoli are gonna have that type of season, but still, we were miles off. So no, top four at this moment in time, I'm gonna say hard no, because the team got worse, and it will probably get worse if you sell one of those players we discussed, and with limited funds, I'm not sure how you can replace him, and a lot of players kind of checked out. He called out a few players, very strange behavior. I don't see how they can be charged up again. I don't see how preseason kicked off this week, how they can look Allegri in the eyes and buy into what he's going to tell him this season, when last season he took so many shots at his players, telling the media they're not good enough to win. I knew that. And when you have Chesney saying we need to win, this is Juve, it's no excuse, we are good enough. And it's like, the the players are saying one thing and the coach is kind of dismissing everything the player says. I've never seen anything like that before. I've never seen players actually say we're good enough to win and the coach come out saying this team is not good enough. I knew that. That's unbelievable, unheard of. So I don't see how we can charge up those boys again and say, let's go. Let's go again. I struggle to see it. I really do. So top 4 at this moment in time, no, I don't see it.
Yeah, fair enough. Mattia, every time I watch Aleandro talk on his channel, I just think to myself, geez, this is literally me with a different background talking about a different club, man. But that's another big reason why I got him on today. Thank you. Over to you now, mate. Any questions for you, for me, and for any Inter fans that you're curious about that pique your interest going into next season? I know we're still in the early stages of preseason, but we are in preseason. People need to realize, we're mid-July. They're going to be taking the pitch in 5 weeks' time. They need to start getting fit. And like I've said the last few seasons, especially after lockdown, bro, continuity is everything. If you can get your starting 11 onto that training pitch as early as possible, you just start to get that leg up on everybody else. Your questions for me or anything related to Inter?
Well, the big question is on Inzaghi, because that made me think so many times. Because in cup competitions, he is kind of unbeatable, almost. But I have a feeling, and I've said it many times, I don't think he's a man or the guy to sustain a long run, if that makes sense. He even at Lazio, good periods, and then he has a drop off where you're like, is this the same team? Because it's day and night, and that's where he loses a title, a top 4. I don't know. Do you actually believe he is that guy to sustain a 38 season to win you the title?
I think this season is going to answer everybody's questions, especially Simone's. This is the season where he now can go into it saying there is no more excuses. You can forgive him losing as many Scudettos at Lazio as possible. And we'll all remember the one season where they took it to match day 32, 33, whatever it was. But winning a title after 38 games is a different ball game and a different cloth than winning these cup competitions. I will dare say, I know that the quality of opponent you face is harder, but I still think it's easier to make a Champions League final than it is to win a Scudetto. Whether or not you're going to win the final, different story. But that sustainability over 38 games, like you're saying, it's bloody hard to do. But this season, he'll be coming off the back of coming to the club, winning the Supercoppa 2 years in a row, winning the Coppa 2 years in a row. Who are you really going to impress, Simone, if you go and win the Supercoppa one more time? It'll be nice. We'll be very happy for one day. Who are you really going to impress if you go and win that Coppa Italia for a 3rd year in a row? We'll be happy. We'll be very happy for 3 days, for 4 days. But we all know where it's at. We all know where you want to be, and we all know what really matters. And what really matters is to make European finals, to go that one step further and win it, and to win your domestic league. And this is the season where Inzaghi, and I said this about one of his seasons before, but this is the real one. He needs to want this Scudetto more than he wants a child. He needs this to be the defining moment of his career to move forward. He's at the perfect age to do it. He's still young. People would argue that he has not even peaked yet, providing he can keep going and sustaining this success that he has, because it is success. I'm a very pessimistic fan. I really am. But I'm also not going to sit here and say that Simone Inzaghi hasn't done a great job with the resources he has been given. It's not easy to walk into your job and straight away have Achraf Hakimi and Romelu Lukaku yanked from underneath you. You need to reset everything from the get-go. On top of that, you've got a group of players who by default dislike you for no reason whatsoever, apart from the fact that your predecessor has a certain reputation. He's been playing catch-up from the moment he got here, financially, resource-wise, results-wise, and I just think he's done a really good job. He deserves the opportunity to go for this Scudetto hell for leather. Ale, if we have a situation like we did last season where we go through periods of time like we did in October and not get points, or January, February and not get points, there will be a large percentage of the fan base that start to call for his head. Whether or not I'm a part of that, I don't know. We'll discuss it next season. But for the most part at the moment, he's done more than enough to get our backing. But I share your concerns. I really do share your concerns, man. Winning a Scudetto is very tough. It requires all of your athletes and all of your players to be focused 38 times. And I think that's where, yes, he may have fallen short in his first season, but I've been very vocal. I've blamed this group of players for losing that league 2 seasons ago, and I blame the group of players for the drop in form last season as well. Inzaghi is in charge of putting the team together and creating as many goal-scoring opportunities as possible. He's done that. I can't expect him to walk the ball in the back of the net. Many fans have argued that that little bit of mentality and focus is what turns players from good players into match-winning players and title-winning players. I would agree to an extent, but I watched a lot of Inter last season, Aleandro, and I saw a lot of missed chances, a lot of points go down the shitter and go down the drain that miraculously were rescued at a period of time last season, right about the time we got past Porto in the second leg. There was a period of time this season where the athletes got to kick up their cooler and went, if we try a little bit harder, if we just focus that little bit more, we could probably achieve a little bit more. I hope that this group of players has learned a valuable lesson in between February and May last season, where if you stop feeling sorry for yourselves for 5 minutes, you just might rediscover something else. And that's my honest opinion.
Yeah, because I have a lot of friends who support Inter as well, and I tell them every season, I'm not like, you're not gonna win because somehow Simone Inzaghi or like a Simone Inzaghi team will find a way to kind of throw it away. That Milan season, I agree. I have no idea what happened there because that should have been yours, but it didn't. It didn't happen last season. I think like you said, the Porto game. I think that was around. I think the game that kind of flipped the season a little bit was when Bremer gave away that penalty in the Coppa Italia.
That moment,
up to that point,
the whole season for us.
Yeah, because at that, like, it was a terrible game. It was probably 0-0. That should have been the result. We got the goal, we gave it away, and I was like, And from that point, you kicked on, and you went on to Champions League final, winning the Coppa. But also because you said missed chances, you're keeping. Zeko's gone, which I think will be a big miss. I think it was very important for you guys. What do you think about Lukaku? Because I've like I said, I have a lot of friends who support Inter. They have so many mixed feelings about Lukaku. One is extremely positive, and the other one, like, there's no middle ground, and the other one is extremely pessimistic, and like he doesn't like. I personally, I don't like him as a player, the style, because I've seen him over here in Belgium when he burst onto the scene when he was 16, and the hype was incredible. And I was like, he is just bullying opponents. Like, he's just too big, but like big time player, if you know what I mean. Like, something is missing. I have a feeling always something is missing with Lukaku that doesn't get him over that hump. He's always fighting the Belgian media as well. Very strange behavior at times. And I'm like, what do you think? Because he's going to say he's probably going to play a lot now Zeko's out of the door. So back to Antonio Conte days.
Yeah. I dislike Romelu Lukaku, the footballer. I'm a big fan of Romelu Lukaku, the athlete, because that's what he is. A great athlete, a fantastic athlete. Like we see in many of the players in the current trend of footballer, not every footballer is going to be Iniesta with the ball, and we've moved away from technicality and replaced it with physicality in our sport at the moment. And that's where all of my arguments are going to come from as well. And even as we speak right now, my inter-worldwide WhatsApp chat has pretty much 80% been dominated by a Lukaku debate for the last week and a half, in a sense where half of us are saying, you can't sell Onana for 55 million and then splash 30 of it straight away on Lukaku. Like, we're not in that position. Why are we selling our goalkeeper to fund this to begin with? And then people will reasonably come out and say, well, where are you going to get a striker for 30 million euros that's going to at least try and do what the management is going to expect Lukaku to do, which I can't argue back from as well, because what you said is true. He is a bully. Is Romelu Lukaku going to score enough goals to take us to the Champions League final and win it? Some fans still think that he can. I don't think that he can. I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's the big man guy. But can he score a couple of goals against Spezia? Can he score against Sassuolo? Can he bully Bologna? Can he score against Genoa? Yes, he can. Yes, he can. It's going to be one of those things, Alejandro, where we look back at the end of the season next year and did Inter finish fourth and therefore F up this entire deal? Or did we finish first and can we look at Lukaku's goals on the score sheet and go, it might not have been pretty, but there's 3 points against Spezia, there's 3 against Sassuolo, there's 3 against Bologna, and a lot of it comes down to Romelu Lukaku. Even if he didn't play well for 90 minutes, that's his name on the score sheet. So that's where we're standing at the moment. And because we're not going to reinvest any of the Onana money into a long-term replacement, I guess going to Chelsea and trying to rinse them for 30 million is the right move, because at the end of the day, it's not a cheap deal, but in context to Lukaku and what we sold him for, it's still the bargain of the market for us. When you look at how much we sold him for, and when you look at us going back to the table, it still makes sense. But I don't know, because I'm not his biggest fan. I'm just not his biggest fan, man. You know how it is. He's not a technical footballer. Yeah. But the thing is, with his physicality, he's only 29. That 30 million, you might just get 2 or 3 seasons out of him in Serie A. And he's Romelu Lukaku. He's Rock Nation's Romelu Lukaku. The image is done. The image is there. You're never going to sell him for 0 if you're Inter. You'll sell him for something. And if you sign him for 30 million and you keep him around for 2 or 3 years, you only really need to sell him for 10 to make a balance on the books. So as far as books and investment go, I don't think it's as risky as a lot of fans think. It just so happens to be the side salad of the main course of selling Onana. This is a big part of it, I think. I think a lot of fans are very heavily disgruntled because, like Juve, our market can only work on a rotating door scale.
Yeah, and the Onana thing really quickly is a strange one, because you got him on a free because obvious, like, things happen at Ajax, but because I live basically on the border between Belgium and the Netherlands, I do follow the Eredivisie like all the time. I remember him playing for Ajax, and he had so many flaws in his game, like big time mistakes, like weekly, and the Ajax fans were shouting to get him out, and then the doping or whatever thing happened, whatever that was, and you got him on a free, and his transformation is because I can still not believe you're getting so much money in over 1 year, because I've seen him at Ajax and I cannot believe that you're like, I would take it. I would take it. I'm not gonna, and I know he's important for the way you play. I get it. That Champions League final was very, very clear as of how important he was to you guys, because he was your build-up most of it, like a lot of the times, and like City had no answers for it, but I saw Di Marzio speak again, and they're gonna make a new offer, Man U. I think you will settle with 55, something like that. That's top-notch money. You need to take. It's tough because also Handanovic left today, right? It's officially he's gone.
So it leads me to believe that we're getting 2 new goalkeepers in.
Yeah, I don't know who. I have no idea who. Maybe you can tell me the links, because I've not really see any links at this moment in time. But you need to take that money, because it's a goalie. I mean, the goalie shouldn't be of such an important that you need to say no to that type of money, if that makes any sense. Like,
especially green money.
It's and you need to find a solution.
For a struggling economic club. It's exactly what we need. It's a free injection at the end of the day. Yeah, you come with the cost of losing him. We're linked with Truben from Shakhtar Donetsk and Sommer as a free from Bayern Munich. So it's not ideal replacements. It's more so just bandage solutions until we sort the situation out. Are you familiar with Truben from Shakhtar Donetsk?
No, never. Like Sommer,
characteristic-wise, he's similar to Onana in a sense that he's a ball-playing progressive goalkeeper, but we're sort of just scouting for like characteristics here.
But you never know. Maybe like when Buffon left and we got Chesney, I was like, ooh, and it's calm, like there's a small part of the fan base who have a weird agenda towards Chesney for no good reason whatsoever, because he's been quality for us. I was scared, but that turned out to be calm and cool. So who knows? And we got him for nothing, Chesney. So who knows? But you need to take that money for certain.
Of course, man. Of course. All right, man. That's all I'm going to have time for today. I need to head off for my day. But, man, that absolutely flew, that 50 minutes. It was really, really nice to have you, man. Can you let everybody in the chat know where they can find you and your awesome work?
You can find us on the blue thick in the title on the Bianconeri zone. We talk Juve, so if you want to catch up with us during the season and have a laugh on with our meltdowns, because there are going to be a lot of meltdowns, you can catch us there. And yeah, probably the next show will be maybe on our channel, so you can catch us there.
That would be great. Yeah, like I always say, man, if we're going to do anything, if you're going to get the news from the rivals, go and get it from the content creators that do all the really, really good work and come at you with pure passion, a lot of emotion, but free from bias as well. It's very, very nice. So thank you very much, Alejandro, for joining me here today. We will catch up very soon. And thank you to everybody who joins us in the chat, especially the channel members. I'll be back on this show with some more content. I go back to work in about 5 days, gang. So bear with me and I'll be back.